Hello audience. In this video I'm going to put together the rest of the interior for this car, particularly the headliner, the trim panels, and the carpet. Now, I know it's been a while since the last video. This thing's been sitting for quite some time. Reason being, I've been having a lot of trouble locating textiles and parts. A lot of people are just out of stock, or people they deal with are no longer in business. Just the way times are right now, so that's been a big holdup, but we've since located what we need and ready to get back to work on this. As I've said before, I'm doing the interior of this in black and gray leather. But what I didn't mention before is the thought process I went through to settle on this. Now, generally, when putting together a custom interior or an authentic looking interior for a car from the early 30s, I generally look for some kind of neutral color like brown, gray, tan, black. That's kind of what was in style at the time, even drab green. Also, try to look for a material that's got kind of a really coarse grain and a low shine to it, kind of a satin finish, which is pretty much what this is. It's got a grain pretty similar to leather that was actually used by Ford at the time. Material that has a smoother grain and a little more shine to it, they don't quite look as good in these cars. They look a little more out of place. However, this isn't a standard rule. This is just general ideas that I go by. As you've seen, we've done the seats entirely in this. Now the headliner and the trim panels I'm going to do with this. This is gray vinyl or artificial leather. Now the seats are did entirely in leather because they're pretty much the most important part of the interior and they get the most amount of wear. And we already have enough leather inside the car to give it that smell of leather. The headliner and the trim panels, they use a lot more material, so it's worth considering cheaper options. Plus, they don't really get any wear, they just kind of sit there. So we chose a vinyl that kind of matches the grain and texture with the leather that we've already used. For the carpet, we're just using plain old nylon carpet, like what's used in modern cars. And for the edge binding, we found a vinyl that kind of matches the seat leather. Now let's get to work. Now it's time to install the headliner. Now, like the rest of the interior, it's going in permanently, so anything inside needs to be sorted out for good. Like, for example, I replaced the dome light wires. They're all brand new. The screw holes for the dome light, I already drilled them and tapped them, because that's not something you want to work out after it's been installed. There's no screw heads protruding. Everything that needs to be painted has been painted, so shouldn't have any problems. I'm going to start by nailing it to the bows one by one, marking the centers, and then start pulling it front, back, side to side until we get the wrinkles out of it. Installing a headliner is usually a hassle, but this is probably one of the easier cars to do because the roof is flat, so it's not prone to getting wrinkles, and it's nailed on everywhere, so it's really easy to adjust if needed. So we'll see what happens here. And that's done. And it's looking pretty good. You may have noticed I've installed some of the trim panels that go around it. So, no real problems. The backrest attaches pretty much the same as it does on a modern car. It's got two hooks up top and two screws on the bottom. Fairly simple. Rear carpet is fitting pretty good, so now I'm going to start gluing it down and probably put a few small nails in here and there to help hold it down. This is pretty much going in permanently. It's not likely to ever need to be removed in the lifetime of this interior. However, the front carpet is a completely different story, and I'll talk more about that later. And here's the front carpet. Fairly simple, I just cut it to size and sewed edge binding around it. Now, like the originals, I added a heel pad to it. Now, the reason for this is it reinforces the area that gets the most contact, the driver's feet and around the shifter and the parking brake, from constantly removing and installing it. Also, this makes it easier to service. When this wears out, it can be replaced, which is easier and cheaper than making a whole new carpet. It's done in black pyramid matte, like it was done originally. The only real difference is I made it slightly longer because this car has an overdrive. It has an extra shifter, so I wanted to incorporate that into this, which it looks a little more factory, more like it came that way than putting a separate piece here. Now, the thing to keep in mind about the front carpet is it needs to be easy to remove because the battery is under it. Also the clutch linkage, the transmission. You're gonna have to remove it quite often to service the car, so you really don't want to glue it down. And it's amazing how many times I've seen people glue the front carpet down. And then they get mad at me because I rip the carpet out to work on the car. Well, there's just no other way to get to some of this stuff. You have to remove the front carpet. So originally it was held in with a few snaps here and there. Now, the way I secure these down is I take a conventional button type snap and attach it to a heavy duty piece of material like this is top canvas. Then I take a needle and thread and hand stitch it to the back of the carpet. And when it's done, it's completely invisible from the outside and effective. Now, if I don't like the alignment of it too much, this stud is just threaded into the sill. I can remove it and move it anywhere I want. And I can remove it and install it as many times as I want. It's not going to hurt anything. So that's how I do it. Now, while the headliner and the upper half of the trim panels are just plain vinyl, the door panels and the quarter panels are where it's really going to start getting interesting. Now, this is a door panel that I've already finished. As you can see, it varied greatly from the original design. First of all, instead of one stitch going around the perimeter of this, we have two stitches running lengthwise. This is a design I got from the 31 convertible sedan, which I kind of looked to that car for inspiration on this because it's pretty much a closed car design with a leather interior. Now, the owner suggested taking the middle part, making that out of black leather left over from the seats to make it a little more different, which I did, and it came out pretty nice. I put the stitches a little further apart than they were originally on the convertible sedan, reason being I'm trying to get the design lower so there's less of a plain area down here because this doesn't have a door pocket. Now, the owners chose to completely eliminate the door pockets on this because, like I've pointed out before, when they get old they can really look bad, especially when the elastic lets go. Also did away with the carpet on the lower fourth of it, as it looks a little more streamlined that way. And the last thing we did was we changed the bezels for the door handle and window crank. It had the deluxe ones on it, which are more of a scroll type. This is the base model, which is more plain, a little more streamlined, which kind of goes with the theme of the new interior better. Now I'm going to install the trim panel. Now, if you're wondering, I'm going to attach this to the wood frame with no exposed fasteners, or mostly no exposed fasteners. I installed the nails before upholstering the panel. I also hammered it on beforehand, so there's guide holes for the nails, which will make it easier. And then I'll carefully hammer it on. Also, there's a hook here that attaches to the trim panel. The window reveal overlaps the panel, which holds it up top. And I'm going to put a few trim screws on the bottom, just for a little reinforcement. The window reveals we painted body color, and also decided to do away with the garnish moldings because they don't really go with the new style. And that's it for this video. The interior is almost entirely complete. I did a few other things off camera, like installing the roof vinyl, which you didn't really miss anything. It was just me smashing my fingers with a hammer for a few hours. Also, the wheels have been cleaned and repainted, which we'll go over that in an entirely separate video, which will be uploaded hopefully around the same time this one is. Now, the way things are looking, there's probably going to be one final video for this project where we sort out the loose ends and show you the finished car. And when that'll happen, I'm not entirely sure, but it'll be sometime soon. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.